Welcome back to Mondays with Mom, the podcast where my mom Leah,
Hi.
and I Jo dive into her stories, experiences, and the lessons she's hoping I finally take to heart. My mom has always dreamed of turning her life into a book or a movie, and this podcast is our way of making that dream come true, one episode at a time. Right, Mom?
Right, Joey, and thanks for that.
What is the topic of discussion this week?
Well, I was thinking something came into my mind because we've recently finally managed to book our accommodation and our flights because Jo, Tina, and I are extremely excited to announce that we're going to watch Pitbull in Dublin.
It's very exciting. I'm so excited to go.
Jo is one of the biggest Pitbull fans. She's taking it to the next level. She's insisting that we have to go there wearing bald caps and aviator sunglasses, and she's got the whole outfit planned out.
Yeah, much to Mom's
Dismay, yes.
You were very upset about the bald cap potential.
I mean, I think I'm going to look absolutely awful. But apparently it's a thing at Pitbull concerts that everyone's trying to look more like Pitbull than Pitbull.
Yeah, it is a thing. And you know what, Mom? I'm also really excited. But what does that have to do with anything for this episode?
Well, firstly, just to clear things up, for anyone who doesn't know Pitbull,
Who doesn't?
well, there might be someone there that doesn't. And so for anyone who doesn't know Pitbull or hasn't heard of him, he's an American singer, songwriter, rapper, actor.
All-around icon.
All-around icon. As you can tell, Joe's a huge fan. And he goes by many names.
He's a motivational speaker.
He's a motivational speaker. He calls himself Mr. Worldwide. And he calls himself Mr. 305, which Joe has educated me. And I've understood that the reason for that is because he's a Miami guy. And Miami's area code is 305. Now, just to go back to how my brain works and what I was thinking about, is that Joe had always told me her dream. Now, Joe is a bit weird. I'm going to put this out there.
I'm really not. This is false information. This is slander.
Let me finish what I have to say, and then we'll let our listeners decide. Joe has always wanted to own a pit bull dog, the actual breed.
Not the singer, not the rapper.
Not the singer or rapper. She's always wanted to own a pit bull of the dog breed. And her reason for this is because she wants to have this dog running around behind her and for her to be calling him Mr. Worldwide.
I don't understand what the problem with this dream is.
So, and because of all of this, I was reminded of a situation I was in with pit bulls. And this time, I mean the dog breed and not the singer. So just to go into a little bit of background, anyone that knows me will know that I'm constantly harassing God for a sign. Every time there's something I need to do, especially if it's something very important, I pray about it. I flick open my Bible onto various pages and try and find a Bible verse that jumps out at me. And more than that, I ask God for a sign. And if you've listened to any of my previous podcasts, you'll know that I often misinterpret signs. So I put it out there and say, please, God, make it obvious. Make it really, really obvious.
And not even misinterpret. You don't accept some of the signs.
Oh, that's true. God gives me a sign. And I say, show it to me one more time just to make sure that it is a sign and it isn't anything else. So one of the very important occasions, I would say, in my life was the first time I got married. I think every time I got married was an important occasion, but this was one of the many occasions that I went all out asking God for a sign. And I think I had really put it out there, and God thought that he was making the signs really obvious. So generally, when people are planning a wedding, they start planning months in advance. They plan for the dress, they plan for the outfits, they plan the venue, and
the food, the people,
what flowers you're going to have, the music you're going to have, the photographer. And because all of this is a lot to do, at least taking care of the venue, the food, and some of the decorations, it's quite helpful to hire a wedding coordinator or a wedding planner. And if you're in the process of asking God for a sign, and a month before your wedding, your coordinator falls sick with appendicitis, and then I need to bring in a completely new coordinator, maybe a few discerning people out there could think it's a sign, But no, not Leah. I plodded on ahead. I knew this needed to happen. I mean, appendicitis. That's really, if your coordinator gets appendicitis, you just hire a new coordinator or planner. So God knew. He knows me really well, and he knew he had to take it one step further. And how much more obvious do you think it could get than giving the actual groom appendicitis 3 weeks before the wedding?
Oh, I think that could be a sign.
That could be a sign.
Potentially.
Now, in retrospect, because the wedding episode's a completely different episode, I'm just going to give you guys a sneak preview and let you know that I chose to ignore that sign as well.
And many others.
And many, many others. So, what had actually happened now is 3 weeks before my wedding, the wedding planner's out of the picture. And practically, the groom is out of the picture because the wedding planner, I think God kind of left it after a while and thought she's gotten a new wedding planner. There's no point interfering with that. But as it came for the groom, not only did he have appendicitis, but to cut a very long story short, because that's a completely different episode, his appendix actually burst. And so the dear soul ended up with peritonitis and was literally in hospital fighting for his life. He had this raging fever. He was completely delirious. He didn't know who he was. He didn't know who I was. It was very, very serious. Literally, it had gotten to the point of being life or death.
That's so scary.
Would you call that a sign?
I'd call that like reason to cancel the whole thing. Call it off.
And obviously, I didn't call it off, but I was dutifully going to hospital every day and checking up on my fiancé and trying to make sure he was well. And on the one occasion that I went there to go and see him, I noticed a note next to his bed that was in an envelope, but the envelope wasn't sealed. And I thought, listen, the dear soul is delirious. He barely knows who he is. He doesn't even know who I am. Let me just open up this envelope and see what's in it.
Yeah.
So I did, and in it was a note from his brother's wife who was giving him detailed instructions of how to feed their dogs while they went away on holiday, and also how to feed his father's dog, what he should be doing, how many times a day he should go there. Now, bear in mind that this note is next to this delirious human being who's running this really high fever, fighting for his life, and there's a note next to him.
What a weird thing to leave, like to your brother-in-law.
And I thought to myself, but you leaving a note, what do you actually expect him to do about it? You think he's going to miraculously rise up and pick up this note and read it? And even if he does read it, what do you think he's actually going to do about it? So I was a little bit annoyed that people would kind of take such advantage of someone who is in a hospital bed. And then I realized that possibly this note was addressed to my ex, but maybe it wasn't meant for him at all. Maybe it was meant for me. This must have been instructions to me because there wasn't another human being out there who was able to go to these 2 properties and feed these dogs while everyone's going on holiday and living their best lives.
It is a weird way to drop off a letter to you to give it to someone else's bedside, but okay.
Exactly. I also thought it was a bit weird. But I took the letter and I read through it and I thought I can handle this. Doesn't seem too difficult. The one even seemed like it might be quite fun because at the one home, which was that of his brother and sister-in-law, they had 2 pit bull dogs who had recently had puppies.
Oh, cute.
Exactly. And I thought this might be quite fun. I've never been with puppies that are newborns, and I thought this is going to be quite a bit of fun, going there and spending some time with these 2 pit bulls and their lots of puppies. So I thought this isn't such a bad thing after all. It's a good thing I got the note. The first thing, though, on the note was that I had to go and feed the dog that was on my father-in-law's or future father-in-law's property. And this was a major task in itself. This should have needed not just a letter. This needed a whole folder dedicated to feeding this dog.
How come?
Well, I think the reason for why it was such a thing is because on this particular property, the property was huge. When I say huge, I mean really, really big. I'm not quite sure on everybody's metric system here, but I'm going to try give you guys an indication. So if you work in acres, we were looking at around 10 acres. If you work in hectares, we're looking at, Jo, help me there.
Around about 4 hectares, I think.
Okay. And Jo, because you're better at the American system, how about square feet?
I think it's like 435,000 square feet. So it's pretty massive.
Pretty massive. And for our Greek listeners, approximately or more than 40 stremata.
Or 40 strema. And if you're like me and have never heard of this measurement before in your life, you're not alone. That's all I'm going to say.
And on this huge property, in order to protect it, they had this giant dog. It looked more like a mini horse. It was huge. It was like double the size of a Great Dane. It was really big and really scary looking. And I was very, very anxious to feed this dog. When I got onto the property, it was barking savagely around my car. And I tried to gently roll down my window and let the dog know. I didn't roll the whole thing down, maybe a little bit, and let the dog know, here I am, I'm bringing food. But the way this dog was reacting, it was more like he felt I was the food. And this was making me extremely anxious. This dog was brilliant at protecting this massive property, but wasn't exactly what I would call your sweet, cute, cuddly, friendly pooch. And I didn't know what to do because despite the dog being a bit aggressive, I didn't want to starve this dog. And my mom, being one of these fearful people that always expected someone to come and smash my car window or do something, had provided me, thank the Lord and God rest her soul, had provided me with a mini fire extinguisher, which was tiny but super powerful. And you would spray it and out would come this ice cold carbon dioxide type foam that freaked this dog out completely.
I mean, it would freak me out.
Yes, I didn't spray at the dog. I just sprayed it out my window. And the dog then decided that what it needed to do is keep a 1 to 2 meter radius around my car. So it wouldn't come close enough to the car, like jump on the window, but it would bark all the way around the car. And then as I managed to get out the car, I kind of held this fire extinguisher and I would use it in the front of me and the back of me and let the dog know that I had it. And this dog would be completely vicious, but staying at least 2 meters away from me.
It sounds like you're one of those police officers you see on Law and Order or something where like they jam into a house and then they hold their guns up searching for anyone and they're like very stiff and they like go around the perimeter.
Yeah, like a James Bond move.
Like a James Bond move.
That was me, except I had a fire extinguisher. And so this is how I managed to feed this dog. And I found the technique was really, really useful. It made the dog loathe me even more than it originally did.
Oh, no.
And had the fire extinguisher ever not been on my body, I think I would have been ripped to shreds. But I kept this fire extinguisher with me and I managed to feed this dog for the entire time while my ex-husband currently, but fiancé at the time, was lying in bed trying to get over his peritonitis. And then I followed the second part of the letter. And that also involved the set of keys. And I was now going into my brother-in-law's house, and I was now feeding the pit bulls and the puppies. And
oh, the puppies.
This actually was starting to be an activity that I didn't mind doing so much. It was much more fun than sitting in the hospital watching someone writhing in agony. And I would go there, and these pit bulls, the puppies, were really, really cute. The one thing that I realized is that these cute little pit bull puppies were actually quite insatiable. So although their mother was breastfeeding them, and the poor, poor dog looked really, really thin. She looked thin and worn out. There were 8 of them, and she just looked like she needed to rest and eat her food. And I would put down food for her, and next thing, it would be like a plague, like locusts. 8 pit bull puppies would go for her plate. And the minute they would go for her plate, her being this very caring, decent mother, she would just step back. And these little creatures would be eating all of her food as well. And I felt really bad because I thought, in order for this mom to have the strength and the energy to be producing all this milk, she actually needs to eat. So my job became this. I felt like I was in one of these
like a rugby play or something. Like hoisting dogs.
Something like that. That's exactly it. So what I would do is almost like like a pit bull juggler. What I would do is like sit there, and while she was trying to eat, I would like fling pit bull puppies over my shoulder, and then it would take them a while to recover and come back again to the plate. By that stage, they'd be flung over again. So I had this little routine going, and the poor dog got to eat. And I used to actually enjoy this. Now, this was going to be happening for approximately 3 weeks, which was the length of time that my husband-to-be was going to be in hospital. So I got used to this. Okay, the fire extinguisher with the other dog wasn't that great, but I could do it. And with these little ones, it was such fun. And what I always used to do, because I'm very security conscious, is I used to walk into the house. Now, in those days, the house didn't have an alarm. And not only that, but the front door had like a thin, long pane of glass in it, just enough to allow some light in. And what I would do is I would arrive, unlock the front door, get in, lock it again, and then head straight for the kitchen, where I would unlock the kitchen door, and all the dogs were being held in an enclosed space behind the kitchen. And this was so that the puppies couldn't escape. So they didn't really have space to run around the whole garden.
Okay.
I would occasionally unlock another door in the garden and let the older dogs, run around in the front. But the mother dog didn't really want to. She was more interested in looking after her puppies.
Shame, man.
Very, very cute.
Yeah.
And so the one day that I did this, I went inside and I unlocked the kitchen door, and I was outside the kitchen door, and I could have sworn that I heard a noise.
Scary?
Well, it's South Africa, so noises are always scary.
Uh-huh.
And I wasn't quite sure what to do. I didn't know whether I should go back into the house. I couldn't even tell you exactly where the noise came from, but in my heart, I kept thinking, this is coming from the house. So I did the only thing that I could think of at the time, and that was to cause a whole scene with the dogs. So I riled up the dogs. I was flinging puppies sideways and doing all sorts of crazy things to get both adult dogs barking. And I thought, well, these are pit bulls. If there's anyone around, they'll be scared of pit bulls. And I made enough noise and enough of a
Commotion.
commotion that I felt that this should scare anyone. And I waited for a while, and I waited until I thought everything felt quiet again.
Okay.
Now, you never know how long this actually takes. It felt like forever, but I think time-wise, it really, really didn't take that long.
Okay.
And then I thought, okay, what am I going to do? I thought maybe I should take a pit bull with me and come back into the house. And so I thought, come, Leah, stop, calm yourself down. You've been doing this so long now, it should be fine. And I walked back into the house, and oh my word,
What did you find?
it's what I didn't find. Suddenly, the house had changed. The TV was gone. The fridge was gone. The microwave was
Oh,
gone.
my word.
The kettle was gone. The DVD player was gone, or VCR in those days. They had literally managed to clean this house out in the time I sat outside making a noise with the dogs.
Sure, that's hectic.
So, I mean, I was completely flabbergasted. Eventually, what I realized is they had broken that glass pane.
And that was a noise.
That was the noise. And then they had unlocked the door with the keys that I still had hanging on the inside of the door.
Wow. That's quite a thing.
That was quite a thing. And the scary part was that they could have easily just opened the kitchen door, which wasn't even locked, and there I was in an enclosed courtyard, and they would have been able to do whatever they wanted. And then I called up the brother-in-law and his wife, and I explained to them what had happened. I told them that unfortunately their house had been burgled or completely ransacked under my watch. And I tried in the nicest way I knew possible. I still don't know a nice way of how to do this, but I tried to tell them really nicely that they no longer had any appliances to come home to. I felt horrible, but it was something that needed to happen.
I can't imagine even being in your position, because the thought of that terrifies me, to have to tell someone else that their house was broken into when I was in it.
Absolutely. It was really terrifying. And also, no matter what, I mean, honestly, you start to feel responsible. I kept thinking, what if I had been more careful coming in? Or was I coming in too often at the same time of day? Or maybe I should have, when I got into the house and locked the door, I should have taken the keys off the front door and put them somewhere else. You keep asking yourself these
Like
questions.
a lot of what ifs.
A lot of what ifs. And it was really, really awful telling someone, literally, that they have to go and buy every single appliance they owned all over again. And they said to me, well, now it's happened. And I thought, yes. And I thought they would come back early from their holiday. And they said, listen, now it's happened. There's no point in us coming back because everything's gone anyway. So we'll replace it when we come back. In the meantime, we're just going to enjoy our holiday. So won't you just take care of the rest? And I thought, what rest? And they said, okay, you report it to the police station.
Oh.
You hang around while they do fingerprints. You can quickly just arrange for the window to be replaced in the door.
Basically do all the work for them.
Do all the work for them. But at the time as well, I came from my perfectly little overprotected Greek home. I didn't even know the phone number for the police. My dad would have done that for me. I had no idea how to deal with insurance or who to call or what to do. And I couldn't ask the guy in the hospital bed who was fighting for his life. So that was my first experience. And it was very traumatic at filling in insurance forms. And it hasn't changed. I'm still traumatized till today every time I need to fill in one of those forms.
Yeah, it sounds very traumatic, I'm not going to lie.
But in the process, I must be honest, I really bonded with these pit bulls. They were
so cute.
They were really cute. And even though I did fling a few of them around here and there, they were growing up. And you know how at those kind of stages and ages, they change so quickly. And because they're animals, they get more and more capable every time you see them.
Yes.
I must admit, I really, really bonded with those dogs. So even the adult ones that didn't know me very well, compared to the aggressive dog on the other property, they were like two meek, loving dogs. And so I find it so hard. I know that pit bulls have this reputation, but I found it so hard to even contemplate that because these ones were the sweetest dogs ever and very pretty looking also.
I think pit bulls are awesome. And I think Pitbull, the rapper, is awesome. Just side note.
Yeah, okay, Jo, you're on your own mission here.
But pit bulls are great. Like imagine walking down the street with Mr. 305, like on a leash.
I thought it was going to be Mr. Worldwide.
He's gonna have so many nicknames.
Okay.
Every single nickname. Little Chico is also gonna be one of his nicknames because that's another pit bull nickname.
You can tell Jo's really excited about the concept. But going back to our story, I somehow didn't see any of this as a sign that God was telling me.
I don't think I would have seen that as a sign either.
All I saw is that my fiancé recovered. In fact, he looked better afterwards than before. He had actually lost in hospital because he was in hospital for 3 weeks. He had lost 10 kilograms, so he looked really good at our wedding. He was slim and trim and ready to get married. And I thought that God let all this happen because he wanted us to both look good at our wedding.
Well, what were you doing to look good at your wedding if he was having peritonitis weight loss methods?
Well, he was doing the peritonitis. I was doing the anxiety. I was doing the heavy labor, the heavy manual labor of feeding dogs.
Of throwing puppies over your shoulder.
And I had toned arms by throwing pit bulls over my shoulder. So I'd really like to think that we both looked good at the wedding. And I think I've come to understand as I've matured in my faith that God is probably not going to half kill someone just so that they can look good at a wedding. I think God is slightly less shallow than that. I may be a bit more shallow than that, but God isn't.
Mom, you're very funny. But what are the lessons that we can take from the story, do you think?
Well, thanks, Jo. I would say that lesson number 1 is always be aware of your surroundings, especially if you happen to live in a high crime country like South Africa. Always be super aware because people don't realize that criminals don't appear out of nowhere. They usually are following you and you just have been unaware of it.
Yeah, that's good advice, not just for South Africans, but for everyone.
Absolutely. I also would say that in terms of lessons learned, that there's a lot you can do with a fire extinguisher. Fire extinguishers don't just extinguish fires.
Who knew?
Yes, well, exactly. And I know I'm going to be giving away my age yet again, but anyone that's of my generation that used to watch MacGyver will know that you've got to make the best of the situation with whatever tools or equipment you have available.
Next, you're going to say that you can use like a goldfish bowl taped to like a stick to be an alarm system.
No, what I was actually going to say is you can use Pitbull puppies instead of dumbbells.
Good one, Mom.
There you go. And I would say another lesson learned is that Pitbull, both the singer and the dog, are both very, very entertaining.
Agreed. And before we wrap up, what are the things that we're grateful for this episode?
Well, I would say the first thing that I'm grateful for is that your dad survived all of this and made it to the wedding, because if he hadn't, you wouldn't be here.
Ooh, and that would have been a real shame.
That would have been a real shame, and I'm very, very grateful for that. I'm also really grateful, along that same line, that God doesn't make the signs completely obvious. Also, I didn't think I would ever admit to this publicly, but I think I'm truly grateful for my overprotective mom and her fire extinguisher. And finally, I would say I'm grateful that during this whole process, no dogs or humans were actually hurt.
Yeah, I think those are good things to be grateful for.
Totally. And the only things that really went missing or were damaged or lost were material goods. And my grandmother always used to have these wise words for me. And she would say to me, never cry over anything that doesn't have a soul. So all material things and belongings, much as we get attached to them and they feel that important to us, they can all be replaced.
And on that note, I'm also grateful that my dad survived, because I didn't say that when you said it.
Yes, you wouldn't be here at all, so I know that you feel grateful.
Yeah. And on that note, it's been great fun.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We really, really appreciate it.
Remember to subscribe if you haven't already on Apple or Spotify or YouTube, whichever platform you use to listen to your podcasts. And also follow us on Instagram and Facebook. And what else, Mom?
Well, I think that's it. We really, really feel blessed to have our expanding audience.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for listening, guys, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.